Next love language is acts of service. Growing up with a very quiet Midwestern white father who is very hardworking and does not share very much, verbally, I think it prepared me to be married to an African man. Because I think interpreting and understanding how my father would love us through acts of service is largely a huge way that Emmanuel shows love. My dad growing up, he would change the oil for us. He would shovel the sidewalk. You know, he would carry the groceries in from the car and put them, you know, he was always, you know, when there was a storm, he always made sure that all of the appliances were unplugged from the outlets. So my dad was a very practical person, and I think that is one big way that he loved our family.
From the African perspective, we have this proverb that says, two houses built together will also burn together. So this is kind of like the bread and butter of like act of service. It's like, because we are friends, your burden is my burden. You know, I don't need an invitation to come and serve and help you. You know, for me as a father and a husband, I think like everything my eyes see, I must do it. Everything that is a pending task is calling my name all the time. So I think for me, it doesn't even come to like, who's going to do what on Monday or Tuesday. It's just like, just trying to check what needs to be done. And I think, again, it's more like my upbringing, like you just do what needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I really appreciate, you know, that even if you're in the middle of something really important, if I call you and ask you for help, you will be there in a second, you know, that you're always willing to serve, and you're always like looking out for when I come home from the grocery store to carry in the groceries for me, or you're always looking for ways to serve around the house.
Yeah.
So the next love language is receiving gifts. The type of gifts that the people in my community used to receive or give were like maybe little crafty things, or like something that was like sentimental, even something that like kind of elicited a memory. It might be even something from like the dollar store, or like something that's more like something from the thrift store, or like a piece of junk kind of. Or it could be a piece of food, or it could be a plate of cookies. You know, I think those are the type of things that if someone gives me something that's like a picture framed of a special memory, like that kind of makes me feel warm and fuzzy. You know, I think a couple days before we got married, Emmanuel gave me this box, and he's like, this is my wedding gift to you. And I thought, oh, I don't have a gift for you. And I opened it up, and it was a MacBook computer. Now, several years later, I'm very thankful, and it was very practical and very helpful. But I think in the moment, I was like, this is too expensive. How much did you spend on this? So I just kind of felt uncomfortable, you know, but I think I've realized like maybe more of the African style of giving gifts, or like these big expensive gifts.
In the African context, like to me, it's like friendship is costly, and we express it to our giving. You know, if I value my friendship, there's nothing wrong with giving me something from a dollar store, the thoughts process in that. But I think for me, you know, I feel like if I value the friendship, I have to splash you and to, you know, spoil you. So, you know, so I think it's very common. And I think that's why sometimes for us, when we want to go home to visit family, it could be very stressful for us, just because the idea of like going home and visiting family, although they don't ask for anything, but it kind of put a little bit of like pressure on our budget, on like how much are we going to spend, because of how we want to, you know, show family that we appreciate them. So gift can be universal, but yet having different accents.
Right. Yeah. So I had never thought before, of like gifts are valued for like the money, how much money you spend on them. That I feel like more in the African context, the more you spend, the more valuable it is, versus like more in the American context, it might be more the thought or the intentions behind it. So the next love language is quality time.
Tell us more, Chapman.
Quality time is probably the way that I receive love the most. And I would also say it's probably for you as well, right?
It is, but it has accents.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm going to get to.
Okay.
So I think we both intuited that during engagement. But after marriage, as we blended our lives together, I realized that we had two very different takes on what quality time actually meant. I think for myself, quality time was physically being in the same place, engaging in the same activity. So that could be sitting on the couch watching a movie. It could be sitting at the table eating a meal together. It could be going on a walk and holding hands. But for you, it was...
Why are you snapping at my culture?
No. But I guess my understanding was a little boxy of what quality time together could look like. So for Emmanuel, he would often express, if I'm sitting on the couch reading a book and he was mowing the lawn, that was quality time together.
Same location, same place.
Or if I was eating a meal at the table by myself, and if he was watching TV on the couch, that was quality time, because we were in proximity with one another. Which I think, going and visiting Cameroon shed more light on that life just kind of happens organically and everybody kind of does his own thing or her own thing, but you're always in community with one another. That it's not like you have to schedule a program, like let's have a coffee date together or let's have a meal together, because you're always around each other and there's always someone eating, or there's someone always sitting under the tree telling a story.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the differences. I think for me, like, quality time is not something that I used to perceive just as two individuals, but it's more like a community thing. Like, let's have more people over. It's like a holiday. Holiday for me are the highlight of quality time. But I think it's because of my cultural background, my upbringing, where you just grow up around people all the time.
Yeah, I had never thought about quality time happening more in a group setting. I mean, I think as an introvert, I'm more of a one-on-one type person. There are some small groups that are like really fun to be part of in some communities, but I think I noticed Emmanuel was most happy when we invited, another couple over or some friends over, and we had more people to have a more richer conversation than rather just the two of us. Or if I wanted to spend time with him, sometimes he would suggest like, oh, well, let's go to this party or let's go to church and have quality time. Which for me, the idea of going to church to have quality time with him was just bizarre, but I think just realizing like my upbringing as more of a smaller family, more one-on-one culture, whereas like you grew up in more of a communal culture, I think that has put a overlay of what, quality time just looks really different. And I think for me, have learned to try to enter those spaces and to realize like, okay, Emmanuel loves being in groups. So if that's one way that I can spend time with him, even though it doesn't feel very life-giving and loving for me, Emmanuel loves to engage with me along with a lot of other people. So for me to enter those spaces knowing that that's something that he loves.
Yeah. And vice versa for you, because I understood like quality time to you means being alone, getting away from town, and spending time together was something that I became flexible to.
So our next love language is physical touch. Yeah, so I think my family background was probably very conservative in terms of physical touch. But in light of that, whenever my dad left for work, he always kissed my mom. Whenever he came home, he always gave her a kiss. Whenever they were kind of out in public or at church, they would always, hold hands, which I think probably in an American scale of touchiness to non-touchiness was probably way on the non-touchiness, but I think in contrast that has shown me some differences even, from what you grew up with.
Yeah. And I grew up more from like where no one touched nobody, unless somebody's gonna fall, you have to provide support. And I think early in our marriage, when Alison would like hold my hand, and I was like, "You're not gonna lose your balance,"
But it's not like you didn't like it.
It's not like I didn't like it.
Sure.
I just didn't understand the purpose of holding her hand. A healthy, strong woman who is playing soccer. When we are going on the walk.
But for me, the act of just holding your hand when we're at church or when we're holding your hand when we're taking a walk, it makes it feel like we're in this together. Like you got me, I got you.
But it's funny because we have actually same gender more touches.
That's what I was going to say, right?
Then cross-gender touches. Like it's very common for me to walk with my soccer buddy, holding, being in each other's shoulders, but it doesn't mean that we're in a dating relationship. It's just like, you're my brother, you're my friend. And even a typical African greeting, I mean, oh Lord, give me mercy. We're going to be hugging each other for like 10 minutes. It's like, how are you doing? How's your chicken? How's your coconut?
Yeah.
So we're very proximate. There's a lot of proximity in that, but it's in a friendly and relational and family setting.
I feel like in your culture, there's less romantic touch and more like platonic touch, where it's like, just friends, or even like, when Emmanuel's mom and dad came for our wedding here, I had never met his dad before, but his dad like held my hand in the airport, like all the way to the baggage claim. And I was thinking, this is interesting. But I think, your mom would grab my hand, your like brother would like just put his arm around me. Like there was more like friendly touch, but I feel like American culture, there's like romantic touch, but then there's not as much, hardly at all, like friendly touch.
Yeah. Friends, this has been a wonderful discussion on the 5 love languages from the perspective of Gary Chapman, and I hope you guys have enjoyed some discussion, and thank you so much for your insight and comments. But I think one lingering question here that may not hurt to ask is this list only limited to 5 categories of love languages, or this could be extended? And I think when I share this with my international friends from different corners of the world, they will tell me that their language has not been part of a conversation, so we cannot wrap this up. So the conversation is ongoing, and in our upcoming episode, we just want to invite you to learn how to grow your list of languages by looking at the extended list of love languages in other cultures. So we're going to look at the forgotten love languages through the lenses of other cultures in our upcoming episode. And I'm really delighted and looking forward to that. And again, if you're new to this channel, I just want to encourage you to subscribe, and thank you for those of you who continue to share the videos, and we are looking forward to seeing you next time.